The sun had just begun to rise, casting a golden hue over the quiet countryside. The air was crisp, carrying the faint scent of dew-kissed grass. In the distance, a lone figure sat patiently by the side of an old, weathered road. It was a dog, his fur a mix of black and tan, his ears perked, as if listening for something only he could hear. His eyes, a deep shade of brown, were fixed on the horizon, unwavering. He had been there for as long as anyone could remember, a silent sentinel in a world that had long since moved on. The locals called him Guardian, though no one knew if that was his real name. He had appeared one day, seemingly out of nowhere, and taken up residence by the edge of the road. At first, people tried to shoo him away, thinking he was a stray, but he refused to budge. Day after day, he returned to the same spot, sitting with an air of quiet determination. Over time, the townsfolk grew accustomed to his presence. Some would bring him food, others would stop to pat his head, but no one could coax him into leaving. It was as if he was waiting for something, or someone. Years passed, and Guardian became a fixture of the landscape. Seasons changed, but his routine remained the same. In the summer, he would lie in the shade of a nearby tree, his tongue lolling as he panted in the heat. In the winter, he would curl up in a small hollow he had dug for himself, his thick fur protecting him from the biting cold. Rain or shine, he was always there, his eyes never leaving the road. The children of the town loved him. They would often gather around him, telling him stories and sharing their snacks. Guardian would listen patiently, his tail wagging softly, as if he understood every word. But as soon as the sun began to set, he would return to his spot by the road, his gaze once again fixed on the horizon. The adults would shake their heads, wondering what could possibly keep him so devoted to that one place. Rumors began to circulate about Guardian's past. Some said he had been left behind by a family who had moved away. Others believed he had been a working dog, abandoned when he was no longer useful. A few even whispered that he was a ghost, bound to the earth by some unfinished business. But no one knew for sure. Guardian never offered any clues, and his silence only added to the mystery. One morning, as the first rays of sunlight broke through the clouds, something extraordinary happened. A car appeared on the horizon, its headlights cutting through the morning mist. Guardian's ears twitched, and he rose to his feet, his body tense with anticipation. The car slowed as it approached, finally coming to a stop a few feet away from him. The door opened, and a man stepped out, his face a mixture of shock and disbelief. "Buddy?" the man whispered, his voice trembling. Guardian's tail began to wag furiously, and he let out a low, joyful bark. He bounded toward the man, his entire body quivering with excitement. The man dropped to his knees, tears streaming down his face as he wrapped his arms around the dog. "I can't believe it's really you," the man said, his voice choked with emotion. "I thought I'd never see you again." The two stayed like that for what felt like an eternity, the years of separation melting away in an instant. The man explained that he had been forced to leave Guardian behind when he moved to the city, promising to return one day. But life had gotten in the way, and the years had slipped by. He had never stopped thinking about his loyal companion, though, and had finally decided to come back, hoping against hope that he might still be there. As the man loaded Guardian into the car, the townsfolk gathered to watch, their hearts filled with a mixture of joy and sadness. They had grown to love the dog who had become a part of their lives, but they knew he belonged with his family. As the car drove away, Guardian's head poked out the window, his tongue lolling in the wind. For the first time in years, his eyes were no longer fixed on the horizon. He was finally going home. The road was quiet once more, but the memory of Guardian lingered. The townsfolk would often tell his story, a tale of loyalty and love that transcended time. And though he was gone, his spirit remained, a reminder that some bonds are unbreakable, no matter how far apart we may be.